no! Look who the pattern dragged in. Welcome to Wheel Talk. I'm Rakapa Sadai. Today we celebrate the top 10 moments of my girl, Moiraine. There are multiple Wheel of Time characters I refer to as my girl. Egwene, Nynaeve, Grendel, shh. But Moiraine is special because she's the character who pulled me into this world. And let's be real, she kinda looks like me. This will be a full spoiler video. If you have not finished reading The Wheel of Time, this video will spoil everything Moiraine does. You'll never know what it's like to discover these moments on your first read. You'll be spoiled forever. But enough! You've been warned. Moiraine's top 10 moments in The Wheel of Time. Since we're dealing with Moiraine, I should clarify. These are events we witness while Moiraine is actually present. Long-term accomplishments like finding and guiding the Dragon Reborn aren't on the list. And reading Moiraine's letters isn't on the list because Moiraine wasn't there. I know! How can you list Moiraine's best moments without the Knife of Dreams letter? But she wasn't there! These are the top 10 times we witness Moiraine doing something and we fall more in love with her. I've scored everything with the Recapometer, an objective scale based on my emotions from 1 to 10. Let's say I'm reading The Great Hunt and Moiraine is being awful to Lan for no reason. Then on top of that, she tells Lan about the Morel arrangement, and I'm suddenly like, wait, am I wrong about Moiraine? Am I scared to admit she's really just a dick? That would be a 1. Or a 2, or a 4. I still love her when she's being a dick. But let's say Moiraine does something so cool I obsess over it, and I spend the next few decades dressing up as Moiraine, and sometimes my sisters say, Rakapa, don't you think you're overdoing it with the Moiraine look? And I say, shut up, you're not my Amerlin. That would be a 10. But also, I'm not obsessed with Moiraine, this is just my look. She looks like me. Alright, let's do this! Moiraine Damodred's top 10 moments in The Wheel of Time. In 10th place. Moiraine destroys the actual Taran Ferry with a whirlpool. These are moments when I love Moiraine. They're not all moments when she's nice. I'm switching to these because my other paperbacks are out of print and they fall apart, honey. The whirlpool is a classic. It stays with you. It shows how Moiraine operates and it's an introduction to how Aes Sedai get around not lying. You just don't tell anyone what you're doing. It's not hard. Master Hightower called out angrily, "Here now! Here! Where's my gold? It shall be paid." Moiraine's voice came from somewhere in the mist. "And a silver mark for each of your men," the Aes Sedai added, "for the quick crossing." Moiraine can be convincing, but the way she throws money around doesn't hurt. They get off the ferry, Lan hands out coins while Moiraine stares at the water, and wouldn't you know it, the ferry breaks loose. "It's loose!" Hightower screamed. "Get it! Get it!" The haulers stumbled a few steps under Hightower's shoves, then stopped. The faint lights on the ferry spun faster. The cracking and splintering of wood filled the air as the ferry began breaking apart. "Whirlpool," one of the haulers said, his voice filled with awe. "An unfortunate occurrence." Moiraine's voice was hollow in the fog that made her a shadow as she turned from the river. "Unfortunate," Lan agreed in a flat tone. "This should repay you." Hightower grabs the money from Lan and runs off screaming into the night with all the ferrymen behind him. My hair's a mess because of it. "There is nothing further to hold us here," the Aes Sedai said, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Leading her white mare, she started away from the landing, up the bank. Iconic. The boys have heard rumors that Aes Sedai can't be trusted, sure, but she saved Emond's Field. Then she sinks Hightower's ferry, and it's like, okay, the don't trust Aes Sedai thing is legit. Moiraine's "I don't care enough to even acknowledge this" attitude delights me no end. It sets up what to expect from Aes Sedai, but it's quintessential Moiraine. No one does it like her. On the Recapometer, from 1 to 10, the whirlpool is an 11. There is nothing further to hold us here. Moiraine's top 10 moments, number 9. Moiraine balefires Samael's Darkhounds outside of Ilion, and she channels drama leading up to it. Moiraine shows up at Easing the Badger in full don't f with me mode. Samael's in Ilion, Lan just killed his Darkhound, and Perrin and Fail are arguing? "I have no time for this bickering," Moiraine broke in. "Do you mean to sit here until he discovers where you are? Move, you foolish children! Move!" They ride out of the city. They can hear Samael's Darkhounds. "There," Moiraine said, pointing to a tall, treeless mound well off to their right. There were no trees that Perrin could see for 200 paces or more around it either, and they were all still sparse beyond that. Please balefire responsibly. They get to that hilltop and Samael's Darkhounds appear in the distance, running at them. Perrin starts shooting arrows that do almost nothing. Moiraine standing next to him, just chillin'. Why aren't you doing something, Moiraine? He could see their eyes shining like silver, their teeth gleaming like burnished steel. One more arrow. Time for one more, maybe, and then it's the axe. Now, Moiraine said, as his arrow left the bow. The air between her hands caught fire and streaked toward the Darkhounds, vanquishing night. Perrin threw an arm across his eyes to shield them from a white-hot glare like burning, heat like a forge cracking open. Sudden noon flared in the darkness and was gone. Where the Darkhounds had been was nothing but night-covered ground and the soft rain. What was that? He asked hoarsely. Moiraine was peering off toward Iliad again, as if she could see through all those miles of darkness. Perhaps he did not see, she said, almost to herself. It is far, and if he was not watching, perhaps he did not notice. Who? Zareen demanded. Samael? How could he see anything here? What did you do? Something forbidden, Moiraine said coolly. Forbidden by vows almost as strong as the 3 oaths. Something not used in nearly 2,000 years. Something I might be stilled just for knowing. Just say balefire! Why can't she just say balefire? Because that wouldn't be mysterious. It wouldn't leave everyone wanting more. So she just tells Perrin it was a really, really, really big crime. I love it! On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, the Ilian Darkhounds are a 13. The fact that Nynaeve used balefire 5 chapters ago makes it even better. And in 8th place, Moiraine tests for the shawl. Oh hey there, New Spring, we see you, girl. I read this cute little book while I was waiting for the release of Towers of Midnight. I remember realizing early on we were gonna get Moiraine's test. I remember the desperation with which I sped through the first part of this book, and I remember turning the page and seeing the 6-pointed star chapter icon for the first time. I mean, talk about a moment. At the time, it was the only chapter icon of its kind in the series. There are 2 now. I had read the first 12 books, I had never seen it, and it made me so, so happy. It felt like RJ saying, thanks for being a fan. I know how bad you want this. And I thought, I earned this. I read 12 long books. I've been a dedicated fan, and this is for me. I can't help loving this part. The Aes Sedai test is crazy and pretty unfair and so much fun. Young Moiraine does some cool stuff, kills some Trollocs with double-handed fireballs. Switching to the copy that's not out of print. I do like the little graphic on the cover of this one. It came in the mail like this yesterday with a hole in the back. I'm not thrilled. I think her staying calm during the second weave is the most impressive part. As soon as she stepped onto that star, she began to channel air and fire, then earth. Suddenly, she was ensnared in black claw bushes, the dark inch-long thorns driving through her woolens, pricking her cheeks, her scalp. Every piercing burned, and she could feel blood trickling from some. Calm. She must display complete calm. Unable to move her head, she tried to feel for a way to pull at least a few of the tangled brown branches away, and very nearly gasped as sharp points dug into her flesh. There's no way I wouldn't scream. Wouldn't you scream on impulse? Calm. She could channel other weaves. Fire was useless. The bushes looked dry as tinder, and burning them would envelop her in flames too. Something moved on one of the branches. A small dark shape on 8 legs. The death's head spider came from the Aiel waste. 1 bite could sicken a strong man for days. 2 could kill him. She swiftly divided the flows and touched the spider with a tiny but very intricate weave of fire. The thing flashed to ash. Burning spiders as rapidly as she could locate them, she began to weave faster that great useless lump. Holding her face in a smooth, frozen mask, she wove faster and faster. Dozens more spiders died, and more tendrils of smoke rose, some thicker. Once the first flame showed, it would spread like the wind. Faster, faster. The last threads fell into place in the worthless weave, and as soon as she stopped weaving, the black claw bushes vanished. Fantastic. Compared to Nynaeve's test, Moiraine's isn't that impressive. When Moiraine complains about Elida's cruelty after, I want to be like, honey, you played on easy mode. But that's because it's hard not to compare the two tests, and Nynaeve's is off the charts. Moiraine's is still deadly and challenging, and she crushes it. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, Moiraine's test for the shawl is a 21. If a sister had used spiders in my test, I would have failed. And then I would have sued her. In 7th place, Moiraine carves up the keyless waygate, then holds off Maqin Shin while everyone exits the ways. If you look closely at my minifigs here, Moiraine is holding an exact canon replica of an Avendazora Trefoil leaf key. It's f***ing adorable. But this is not that part. They reach the waygate and there's no Avendazora leaf key. But Moiraine says, you know what? The Avendazora leaf key. That's basically what happens. The Avendazora leaf is not here, she said. The key is gone. Back toward the guiding, the wind howled. Moiraine raised her staff, and flame lanced from the end of it. It was not the pure white flame that Rand remembered. Sickly yellow streaked through the fire, and slow drifting flecks of black, like soot. A thin, acrid smoke drifted from the flame, setting Loyal coughing and the horses dancing nervously, but Moiraine thrusted at the gates. Stone melted like butter, leaf and vine withering in the flame and vanishing. The Aes Sedai moved the fire as fast as she could, but cutting an opening big enough for everyone to get through was no quick task. The flame winked out, and Moiraine lowered her staff. Done, she said. Half done. Moiraine steps back, and Lan and Mandarb leap forward, crashing through the waygate. All of you out, Moiraine directed. Quickly, go. As she spoke, the Aes Sedai thrust her staff out at arm's length, pointed back toward the guiding. Something leaped from the end of the staff, like liquid light rendered to a syrup of fire, a blazing spear of white and red and yellow, streaking into the black, exploding, coruscating like shattered diamonds. The wind shrieked in agony. It screamed in rage. The gang follows Lan the hell out and looks back at the screwed-up waygate. Inchmeal, the Aes Sedai, and her dim reflection backed out of each other. As if from a great distance the wind howled at them, hidden voices filled with an unquenchable thirst for living things. Maqin Shin does its rant and fades out, and the waygate's surface goes back to shiny. By that I mean not you know what I mean. It could not pass, Moiraine said. I thought it could not. I hoped it could not. Faugh! She tossed her staff on the ground and scrubbed her hand on her cloak. Moiraine says faugh. It's spelled differently from a Cadswain faugh. Hers is F-A-U-G-H. Faugh! Nynaeve asks what Maqin Shin is, and Moiraine goes off on one of her doom lists. She loves these. Something left from the time of madness, perhaps, Moiraine replied. Something hiding in the ways so long it can no longer get out. It could even be something of the ways themselves. As Loyal said, the ways are living things, and all living things have parasites. Perhaps even a creature of the corruption itself, something born of the decay, something that hates life and light. Stop! Egwene cried. I don't want to hear anymore. Seriously, what's wrong with her? I love it so much. Anyway, this part gets most of its points for being cool, but I also gotta hand it to Moiraine. Until they're out of the ways, she holds it together for the group. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, the keyless waygate is a 27. I want my staff back. Some people say the Recapometer doesn't make sense, but those people are bad at math. And in 6th place, Moiraine apologizes to Rand and vows she'll stop trying to manipulate him. Moiraine does that. She also vows to obey Rand to the point of Geishine, which feels a bit much. We'll get to that. I must speak with you about, Moiraine began. We can talk tomorrow, Rand said, cutting her off. If you think I'll help you get that fox head away from Matt, you can think again. Maybe I'll ask if I can borrow it from him. He turned away from her. Please, Rand, Moiraine said, and the open pleading in her voice halted him in his tracks. He had never heard anything like that from her before. I will not be with you forever, Moiraine said urgently. Her hands gripped her skirt so hard that they trembled. I have given my entire life to the search for you, to find you and help you. You still do not know your own strength. You cannot know half of what you do. I apologize most humbly for any offense I have given you. Those words he had never thought to hear from her, came out as if dragged, but they came, and she could not lie. Let me help you as much as I can while I can. Please. It's hard to trust you, Moiraine. You have handled me like a puppet, made me dance the way you wanted from the day we met. You know I love Moiraine, but he's not wrong. Her laugh was as silvery as the moon above, but bitterness tinged it. It has been more like wrestling with a bear than pulling strings on a puppet. Do you want an oath not to try manipulating you? I give it. Her voice hardened to crystal. I even swear to obey you like one of the maidens, like one of the guys shine if you require, but you must. Taking a deep breath, she began again, more softly. I ask you, humbly, to allow me to help you. Lan was staring at her, and Rand thought his own eyes must be popping out of his head. I will accept your help, he said slowly. And I apologize too, for all the rudeness I've shown. He had had good cause to be rude when he was, but she could not lie. Finally, Moiraine said outright that she wouldn't try to manipulate Rand. She has refused before. And instead of his usual, an Aes Sedai's truth isn't always the one you hear, Rand just thinks she cannot lie. That took over 4 books. Moiraine has always tried to control Rand, so Rand has never fully trusted her. She uses status as a cudgel the way most Aes Sedai do. It usually works. But commanding Rand hasn't worked, he doesn't trust her, and she's out of time. The vow to obey Rand is a lot. The other characters certainly think so. But putting that much trust in Rand is Moiraine's best attempt at gaining his trust, and it works. She knows she messed up with him, and it's gonna take a lot. And of course she gets huge points for the apology and the vow not to manipulate. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, the Vowpology is a 40. I also love that the only character who might hate apologizing as much as Nynaeve is Moiraine. Anyway, in 5th place, Moiraine balefires Balal, scoring the first actual Forsaken kill of the series. 1 Forsaken actually down! That's a big deal! That said, Balal didn't exactly make it hard. He keeps telling Rand to take Kalendor, and Rand's like, I don't know, it's complicated. Balal is getting so mad. Take it. Take Kalendor and defend yourself. Take it or I will kill you now. If you will not take it, I will slay you. No. Even Balal gave a start at the command in that woman's voice. The Forsaken stepped back out of the arc of Rand's sword and turned his head to frown at Moiraine as she came striding through the battle, her eyes fixed on him, ignoring the screaming deaths around her. I thought you were neatly out of the way, woman. No matter. You are only an annoyance, a stinging fly, a bite me. I will cage you with the others and teach you to serve the shadow with your puny powers. He finished with a contemptuous laugh and raised his free hand. Moiraine had not stopped or slowed while he spoke. She was no more than 30 paces from him when he moved his hand, and she raised both of hers as well. There was an instant of surprise on the Forsaken's face, and he had time to scream, "No!" Then a bar of white fire hotter than the sun shot from the Aes Sedai's hands, a glaring rod that banished all shadows. Before it, Balal became a shape of shimmering motes, specks dancing in the light for less than a heartbeat. Flex consumed before his cry faded. He was right concerning one thing, Moiraine said, as coolly serene as if she were standing in a meadow. You must take Kalendor. Like it's nothing. All hail the Queen. I'm going to be honest because, oaths, the way Balal talks gets on my nerves. It's the same as the way Ishi's Baalzaman talks, and it reads childish to me. I am ready to be done with it in Book 3. So when Balal delivers a Baalzam monologue about how puny Moiraine's powers are, and she balefires him without a word, I'm like, correct. It's Moiraine, I don't have time for you Sedai's way of saying, shut the up. I think it's fitting that Moiraine is the first one to balefire a Forsaken. She knows balefire is forbidden. She has said it quite a few times in various ways. But when a thing has to be done, Moiraine does it. Take what you want and pay for it. Balefire the Forsaken and risk the world unraveling. At least you thought about it. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, balefiring Balal is a 100. Move, you foolish scoreboard panel. Move. In 4th place, Moiraine Mask of Mirrors herself into a shadow giant and puts the white cloaks in their place. No, that is not a mistake. I know, I know. You're like, Recappa, you can't put that above killing a Forsaken. I'm as shocked as you are. But when you go back and read both parts and you add up the accurate numbers, this part scores higher. Someone kills a Forsaken in almost every book. Mega Moiraine happens once. Switching that out before I break it. Moiraine's carpool is urgently trying to leave Baerlon after encountering a Fade. Watchmen are cranking the city gates open when Bornhald shows up with 4 other White Cloaks. Bornhald says he's gonna take Moiraine's carpool to the White Cloak camp for questioning. You will take me to your camp, White Cloak? Moiraine's voice came suddenly from every direction at once. She had moved back into the night at the children's approach, and shadows clumped around her. You will question me? Darkness wreathed her as she took a step forward. It made her seem taller. You will bar my way? Another step, and Rand gasped. She was taller, her head level with his where he sat on the Grey's back. Shadows clung about her face like thunderclouds. Aes Sedai, Bornhald shouted, and 5 swords flashed from their sheaths. Die! The other 4 hesitated, but he slashed at her in the same motion that cleared his sword. Sword met staff, and sparks sprayed in a fountain, a hissing roar hurling Bornhald back into his white-cloaked companions. All 5 went down in a heap. You dare attack me? Moiraine's voice roared like a whirlwind. Shadows spun in on her, draped her like a hooded cloak. She loomed as high as the town wall. Her eyes glared down, a giant staring at insects. Go! Lan shouted. For a moment, Rand remained frozen, staring. Moiraine's head and shoulders stood above the wall now. Watchmen and children alike cowered away from her. The Aes Sedai's face was lost in the night, but her eyes, as big as full moons, shone with impatience as well as anger when they touched him. Swallowing hard, he booted Cloud in the ribs and galloped after the others. 50 paces from the wall, Lan drew them up, and Rand looked back. Moiraine's shadowed shape towered high over the log palisade, head and shoulders a deeper darkness against the night sky, surrounded by a silver nimbus from the hidden moon. As he watched, mouth hanging open, the Aes Sedai stepped over the wall. The gates began swinging shut frantically. As soon as her feet were on the ground outside, she was suddenly her normal size again. Girl knows how to make an exit. You were taller than a giant, Egwene said breathlessly. Was I? Moiraine said absently as she swung into her saddle. The mind plays tricks in the night. The eye sees what is not there. Moiraine's gonna Moiraine. Moiraine has kept a low profile in Baerlon, calling herself Lady Alice, hiding that she's Aes Sedai, and turning into a shadow giant to make White Cloaks cower at her feet is, not that. It's a bad move if you're trying to leave town unnoticed. Moiraine says as much. She could have bound the White Cloaks in air and walked out. In later books, I'd expect that, but I'm already so over Dane Bornhald. When he threatens torture and Moiraine scares the hell out of him, I'm here for it. It's one of those book 1 things that feels separate from the rest of the series. Moiraine is a Game of Houses player who acts objectively. She never tips her hand. Except here in book 1, when she turns into a giant, never mind that they're fleeing Shadowspawn. On the Recappa meter from 1 to 10, Mega Moiraine is a 101. I hate Bornhald attacking Moiraine, but I'll say this, he put up more of a fight than Bilal. Before we get to Moiraine's top 3 moments, let's do some honorable mentions. Moiraine stabs and kills Moiraine at the end of New Spring. Moiraine uses Tom's dead nephew to make Tom go to Tanchico. Moiraine advises at the Field of Merilor. Moiraine goes to Sheol Ghul and is there. And of course, the Destruction Vow. Say it with me. Whatever the Dark One wants, I oppose, so hear this and know it true. Before I let the Dark One have you, I will destroy you myself. So good. That one came close. I didn't forget A Memory of Light, it just didn't make Moiraine's list. Put a bookmark in that. Enough honorable mentions. I've had enough. Moiraine's top 3 moments in the Wheel of Time. Make your predictions now. Pause this video if you have to. I will understand. Okay, in 3rd place, the Bronze Key Sierra goes to... Moiraine delivers her Weep for Manetheren speech and shames the mob of Emond's Field. Weep for Manetheren. Weep for how they make you angry villagers look like sh**. Let's start by celebrating the Moiraine of it all. It's the night after Winter Night, and Moiraine is facing an angry mob outside the wine spring. About 3 dozen village men with torches shouting at her. You brought those monsters! Jarl roared. He waved a torch over his head, and there were shouts of, "You brought them!" and "It's your fault! Get out, or we'll burn you out!" Bran reminds the mob how much Moiraine has done for them. Senbui's like, "Yeah, that's true. But also, she's Aes Sedai. We want no Aes Sedai troubles. Send her away!" Moiraine suddenly whirled her vine-carved staff above her head, spinning it with both hands. A hissing white flame flared from each end of the staff, standing straight out like spear points despite the rods whirling. She snapped her arms down straight out before her, the staff parallel to the ground, but the pale fire still jetted out, brighter than the torches. Men shied away, held up hands to shield their eyes from the pain of that brilliance. "Is this what Aemon's blood has come to?" The Aes Sedai's voice was not loud, but it overwhelmed every other sound. "Little people squabbling for the right to hide like rabbits. You have forgotten who you were, forgotten what you were. But I had hoped some small part was left, some memory in blood and bone, some shred to steel you for the long night coming." Bran said, "Forgotten who we were. We are who we always have been. Honest farmers and shepherds and craftsmen. Two rivers folk." And then Moiraine tells them the story of Manetheren. I directed a short film reenacting this. Let's watch some of it.
"Some did not flee. First in a trickle, then a river, then a flood. Men went, not to safety, but to join the army fighting for their land. Shepherds with bows, and farmers with pitchforks, and woodsmen with axes. Women went too, shouldering what weapons they could find and marching side by side with their men. No one made that journey who did not know they would never return. But it was their land. It had been their fathers', and it would be their children's, and they went to pay the price of it. Not a step of ground was given up until it was soaked in blood. But at the last, the army of Manetheren was driven back. Back to here, to this place you now call Emond's Field. And here the Trolloc horde surrounded them.
I'll link to the full video in the notes. The minifig who played Eldraine deserved an Oscar. It's a sad story about the fall of Manetheren, and we all love some good lore. But Weep for Manetheren is more than just that. Weep for Manetheren is an Aes Sedai telling a village this place was a legendary kingdom. The people who lived here were heroes who died willingly to hinder the shadow. And now you're here, flailing torches at me. You should be crying right now. It's powerful. Changes their behavior. Is there a clear connection between the fall of Manetheren and this mob's behavior? There sure as hell is when Moiraine tells the story. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, Weep for Manetheren is a 168. Congratulations, Weep for Manetheren! And in second place, the Silver Kisera goes to... Moiraine uses her Angreal before Shadar Logoth, earthquaking hundreds of Trollocs into oblivion and stopping 3 Fades with fire. This part is epic! I directed a short film of this too. It features Moiraine a lot. We have to watch some of it.
The hilltop blackened with Trollocs, snouted, distorted faces howling, and 3 Myrddraal overawed them all. Only 100 spans separated the two parties. The Myrddraal's black swords rose as one. Trollocs boiled down the slope, thick, triumphant cries rising, catchpoles bobbing above as they ran. Moiraine climbed down from Aldib's back. Calmly, she removed something from her pouch. The Angreal. The Angreal looks exactly like this, except it's an ivory figurine of a woman, not a fish. The Aes Sedai raised her staff high and stabbed it into the earth. Everything was silent. The Trolloc cries stilled. For a heartbeat, everything waited. Slowly the dull ringing returned, changing to a low rumble, growing until the earth moaned. Clouds stumbled and nearly fell. Those who rode had to cling to reins and manes. By the way, Cloud looks exactly like this, except he's gray. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Neither the Aes Sedai nor the staff moved an inch, for all that the ground shook. The ground rippled, lapping toward the Trollocs, becoming waves of earth. Trees in the hollow lashed like switches. Trollocs fell in heaps. But the Murdral came slowly on. Moiraine lifted her staff, and the earth stilled. But she was not done. She pointed to the hollow between the hills, and flame gouted from the ground. She flung her arms wide, and the fire raced to the left and right, spreading into a wall separating humans and Trollocs. The heat made Rand put his hands in front of his face. The Murdral's black mounts fought their riders, as the Fades tried to force them through the flames. Blood and ashes! Abruptly, Moiraine wavered, and would have fallen had Lan not leaped from his horse to catch her. Go on. That fire won't burn forever. They galloped northward. The horns in the distance shrilled out disappointment, then fell silent.
I'll link to the full video in the notes.
This part is so good.
Oh no, I knocked over Nynaeve. She looks pissed.
This part is so good.
It's everything I want from Moiraine. She's calm and fierce in the first phase of this fight, Trollocs going up in flames all around her. They scale the next hill, the shadow spawn look overwhelming, and out comes the Angreal, and the clang of the staff, and the earthquake that doesn't shake her, and the Trollocs thrown around, and the Fades and the walls of flame. It's all the channeling I've been hungry for since the prologue. We never get to see Moiraine do stuff like this. This part is special. This part is awesome. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, Moiraine raining Angreal destruction on the Shadow Spawn is a 294. It's possible I've been holding the staff upside down for this entire video. There's no wrong way to hold a staff, usually. Moiraine's #1 moment in the Wheel of Time. There's one big thing missing and one spot left, so you can probably figure it out. But maybe not, I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to share the correct answers. In first place, Moiraine's #1 moment in the Wheel of Time, the Gold Key Sierra goes to... Moiraine throws herself at Lanfear, sending them both through the doorframe to Rangreal into the realm of the Fin. Moiraine's #1 moment, one of my favorite moments in the series. If it wasn't clear, you get a hat and a horn when you take out a Forsaken, and yes, this counts as that. The whole Lanfear encounter is excellent, I live for it, but the grand finale is everything to me. Wiping the blood from her mouth, Moiraine crawled out from beneath the tail of the wagon and rose unsteadily to her feet, the sound of a man's laughter in her ears. It was Rand laughing, on his knees on the stones of the quay. Moiraine felt a chill. If the madness had him, it was beyond her. She could only do what she could do. What she must do. The sight of Lanfear hit her like a blow. Not surprise, but the shock of seeing what had been in her dreams so often since Ruidian. Lanfear standing on the wagon bed, blazing bright as the sun with Saidar, framed by the twisted red stone Terangreal as she stared down at Rand, a pitiless smile on her lips. She was turning a bracelet in her hands, an Angreal. Moiraine was slight, a small woman. Her weight did not disturb the wagon at all as she pulled herself up. She winced as her dress caught on a splinter and tore, but Lanfear did not look around. Suppressing a small bubble of hope, she could not allow herself that luxury. Moiraine balanced upright a moment on the wagon tail, then embraced the true source and leaped at Lanfear. The Forsaken had an instant's warning, enough to turn before Moiraine struck her, clawing the bracelet away. Face to face, they toppled through the doorframe to Rangreal. White light swallowed everything. Yes! And also, no, you can't take away Moiraine, but also, yes, get it, Moiraine! I was lying in bed when I first read this. I read the words, white light swallowed everything, and I closed the book with my finger holding the page. And I took a minute. And then I read the end of it again and again. Face to face, they toppled through the doorframe to Rangreal. White light swallowed everything. It was one of those Wheel of Time moments that made me actually pause and think to myself, this is the best story I've ever read. There's an incredible build-up to this moment. On my first read, the mystery of what big thing did Moiraine learn at Ruidian kept me guessing. Ruidian. You know in the glossary it's 3 syllables? Ruidian. Ruidian. When she gave Rand her Valpology, I was like, what does she know? What did she see? Learning that this is what she saw, this is the answer I've been wondering about, takes this part to an even higher level. The awesomeness speaks for itself, but I would be remiss not to mention Moiraine's sacrifice. Moiraine may not know everything that will happen, but she knows she'll be a captive of the Thin. She knows this is going to be really painful one way or another. But it's what must be done, and Moiraine does what must be done. Always. First she goes out of her way to find out what must be done. You get it. I can't say enough good things about the Lanfear knockout. On the Recapometer, from 1 to 10, it's a 500. It is. Bravo, Moiraine. Bravo. Give her flowers. Give her awards. But don't give her a crown. She hates that. There they are. Moiraine's top 10 moments in the Wheel of Time. I love Moiraine. She's an icon. She's everything. I doubt anyone expected to see Shayol Ghul on the list, but I do want to wrap up by talking about why it's not there and how I feel about it. I don't think I'll make a video about this, so like in a Moiraine video, let's talk about it. On my first read, I built up expectations of what Moiraine would do with Shayol Ghul. I knew it was going to be Moiraine and Nynaeve, but even though she's my girl, I thought Nynaeve would be there for support, and Moiraine would do a thing that she was always meant to do. The reverse happened, and I was surprised, but not disappointed. Nynaeve healing Alana was so beautifully teed up from the beginning, I'll never get over it. I just thought Moiraine was gonna get a moment like that, and she never did. Like, obviously we all wanted her back, but I thought there was gonna be an essential thing that she would do. You know? It's fine. I'm not mad. And I don't think about it. And I'm not obsessed with her. Thank you for watching, and all hail Moiraine. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like, and I recommend subscribing so you don't miss the next one. Wheel Talk has some cool videos planned. It's going to take me a minute, but I believe it will be worth it. And that's all I'll say for now. This was fun. I love Moiraine. I hope you had fun. Until next time, walk in the light and keep it wheel. There was nothing further to hold them there. Darkness swallowed everything.